Okay, we are going to do a portrait face edit. And go here and grab this photo here. Okay, there we go. I'm going to take the radial filter right there, select that, and this menu here, instead of trying to go through here and select each one of these and set them to 0, because a lot of times those are completely changed, just go right up here to this menu right here and select reset local correction settings, and that resets everything, starts you off. You want your feathering up on 100%, and we are going to edit the inside of the radial filter, so we want the inside selected right there. And drag out like that right there, and turn that, and we're just going to bump up the exposure there just a little bit. Yeah, about right there is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Now I'm going to bump up the overall exposure. Ten will work. Okay, I'm just going to open it here. And there we go. So we're going to do a little bit of sharpening here. I know this is a very sharp photo, portrait photo, but we're going to do a little additional sharpening. So I'm going to press Ctrl J to duplicate the background layer, and then I will go up to Filter, and then go to Sharpen, and then go to Smart Sharpen. I leave these settings the same. My settings are the amount is 380%, radius is 0.6, well 0.6, and the reduced noise is set at 50%. And I usually leave it stay on Gaussian blur. Just leave it on that. Unless you do have camera shake problem on a photo, then you would hit the menu and select motion blur. But for this photo, it's Gaussian blur. So I'm just going to hit OK. And this is going to apply that filter to my photo. So there it is. And if you can see, it's added some noise, a little bit of like color noise, and some white haloing around, like right in here around the eyelashes and stuff. So to fix that, on that sharpening layer, what we'll do is we're going to change the blend mode for that layer. So we're going to select darken. Okay, and that gets rid of all that, and the only thing you're left with is nothing but the sharpening. So you can see the difference there. It's on and off. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to go in here, and we're going to actually, I think I'll back down the sharpening on the skin and everything. So probably what I'm going to do, I'm just going to apply, I want this sharpening applied to where I want it, not on the skin, because basically all that does is highlights the imperfections in the skin. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a black layer mask on here, which is going to hide everything, and we'll paint it on with a white brush. So we're going to push and hold Alt, and then select the layer mask here, and that covers everything up. Now we go to our brush on white, and we're going to go 100% up here on flow. And here's just a little tip: if you left click on the opacity or the flow word, just click on it, hold it, you can drag your mouse left to right to adjust it up and down. You do not have to click here and then drag a slider and then click there again. You don't have to do that. You can actually just click here, drag there, or like the opacity, click here, drag there. And the same thing goes with like the opacity over here and the fill here, over here on your layers. Same thing. It's just a nice little tip. Okay, so we have the sharpening, and I'm gonna back this down to like 60%, right around in there. Okay, and make the brush big and the hardness on 0 for a soft brush. And here is another little tip: you can press and hold Alt and then right click on your mouse and hold it. You can push your mouse forwards or backwards. That is going to adjust the hardness of your brush, and if you pull it from left to right, that adjusts the size. Okay. Alright, so here we are set up with our brush on white, and we're going to paint on this layer mask, and we're revealing that sharpening. And just basically do it on the eyes, around the eyes, so if you look on the eyebrows here. And right across here on the lips, a little bit there. And a little bit right here on the fingers up to the chin here. Alright, now we'll hit a little bit of the hair that is in focus right here on the front. Just helps add a dimension. There we go. There we go. That made a huge difference. That looks really good. Alright. Okay, so now what I want to do is go to work on the eyes. So we will take and make an adjustment layer to get rid of those colors that's in there. So what we're going to do is right up here, the hue and saturation adjustment layer, we're going to click on that, and first thing I'm going to do, what I do is leave it on master, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab this saturation. I'm going to pull it down about halfway between middle and the end, like right in here, which is like around -50, you know, -40, yeah, -40. And then I'm going to turn the brightness up some, and that just kind of helps smooth those eyes out. So we'll turn that brightness up and just click this up here to close that. Now that layer mask there, we're going to invert it so we can just paint it on where we want the effect. So we will make sure that is selected, which it is. Got the box around the mask, and we're going to hit Control I for invert, and invert that. Now I'm going to make a hard brush, like around 70%, and really small. We'll zoom up here, that way it can get kind of tight up in here. And we're going to turn the flow up to 100% on this. So here we go, we're just going to paint this right on the eye whites. make your brush smaller, get up in them corners there. And come over here and go ahead and do this corner while your brush is small, so you don't have to readjust it. Do that corner, do that corner, do this corner, and that corner. Okay, now come back here and make the brush a little bigger, and we'll paint the rest of the effect in on the rest of the eye here. There we go. I got a little bit into the pupil there. You want to make sure that you stay off that, and you can switch your color of your brush from black to white really quickly to fix mistakes or whatever by just hitting X. That toggles black and white. So I'm going to erase it off right here. There we go. Alright, so now we'll go back to white and go right back up here to hit that. And there we go. And a little bit right there. That does that eye, and then come up here and do the same thing on this eye. And again, I'm toggling back and forth the black and white so I can quickly erase any spots like right there, or erase that with the black brush. Alright, that looks pretty good right there. So it'll turn out on and off. You can see the effect. And I'm going to reduce the opacity of that just a little bit. About right there, which is like 78%. Now we will come here and we will do another hue and saturation adjustment, and we're going to target colors that's in there. So we're going to, right up here, we're going to grab this color picker, this sampler. We'll click on that, left click on that, and go right over here in this part of the eye whites and click, and it says greens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this saturation so I can see exactly where it's at. Okay, there's not a lot there, but we'll just pull that down a little bit and then brighten it up just a little bit. Now click over here, it says yellows, so turn that up, and that's just basically a little bit. It got most of it, the first one did. Let's do that, and then click on this eye, and it's cyans, and you can see where that's at. That's one of the bigger problems right there, so I'm going to go a little less on the negative, well, more on the negative side right there to get rid of that. There's a little bit more. And turn that up. There we go. And that's picking up some reds right there, so we'll take the reds down and bump up the lightness. Alright, so same thing right here. We're going to do Control I and invert that so we can just paint it on where we want. Hit B to bring back the brush, and we're just going to go here and paint that right there. Actually, here's a really cool little trick. I'm going to go back and I'm going to take that back off there. We've already painted in the eyes. We've already painted in the eyes the eye whites where we want it. We got a pretty good job there and everything. So we don't have to sit here and try to do that again really tightly, because the last adjustment layer was done really good. So what we can do here is we can hold Alt, push and hold it, left click on this adjustment layer that we did the previous eye white adjustment, click on it and hold it and just pull it up there and place it on there. So it instantly puts it exactly where the other one is. And you can see a little bit of difference right here. And watch that right there. That did help. Eyes are looking really good now. But that is a quick little tip right there for something when you're doing eyes. If you like your first adjustment, do a really good job, and then you can just click Alt and left click on that layer mask and just bring it up. Once you get the other adjustment layer, just bring it up and place it on there, and that puts that effect in the same exact position as the last one. Okay, so let's do a little bit of pupil brightening now. So what I like to do is I will come in here to the levels, and I'm going to pull it up just a little bit from this side here. And you can see it really brightens things up. But what we're going to do is just going to pull back just a little bit to where you start seeing a little bit of brightness in the pupils. We'll go ahead and close that. We're going to change this blending mode to linear dodge. Okay, linear dodge. And now we're going to hit Control I to invert this layer mask to black so we can just paint it on the pupils. Alright, so now we want a white brush, so we will hit X to toggle our white. And I'm going to make the brush a little bigger. And you don't want a totally hard brush for this, but you want something like around 50%. So 50% right there. Brush about that size. You just want to make sure you don't go outside of the eye pupil, the iris. Okay, so there we are, right up in there. Down there. And I'm going to turn my flow down to about like 20%, right around in there, and I'm just going to come up here and hit these catch lights a little bit. You can see just there you go. Alright, now that is way overdone. You don't want to do that, so we just grab the opacity. We'll left click on the opacity word right there and hold it and just drag left. That's all the way off, and this is what we have done right there. That looks really good. That brings the natural color in the eyes out. You're not tweaking somebody's eye color or nothing. That just brings out the natural colors and tones in the eyes. Alright, so now what we will do is we will go to work on some of these blemishes. So now what I'm going to do is I have this all set to where I want everything set on this portrait, on this particular portrait. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to work on these blemishes, and I'm not going to do every one of them because of it being a video, but this gives you an idea. We'll get some of them and then we'll move on to the next step. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go down here on the background layer, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to flatten that image right there, and then I'm going to go Control J to duplicate that background copy. That you don't want to do adjustments directly on your background. So now I will come right over here and I'll grab the spot healing brush tool right here, and we're just going to go in here and hit some of these. I'm going to make my brush a little bigger for these. Some are pretty harsh. Alright. And this tool works better if you don't just dot it. You have to dot it several times. If you just kind of go right up to the side of it or above it and just pull across it just a little bit, it works really well. I don't know why, but it just does. It works a lot better. Alright. Just get some of the major blemishes here. There we go. That's probably good enough right there. That's good enough. Other than there's one spot right here it's bugging me, is this right here. There we go. And there's one right there. Alright. That's pretty good. Now you can see on here on this photo here of this model that she has a red spot right underneath her nose right here, and there's a little bit of red right over here, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. So here what we're going to do is we're going to add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. I'm going to grab the sampler right there, and I'm going to go over and I want to click on that red, the exact red right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my saturation all the way up to 100%. And I want to click on this little end right here, down here. I'm going to pull that to the right, just to where you start seeing it to come off the red that you clicked on. You got to make sure you watch exactly where you clicked that red. Okay, so right there it started coming off of it, and there it is, it's back on it. This is pretty fine tuning, so you want to make sure that you don't go too far. Now you'll come over here on the right side, and this one right here, you pull it in until you centralize that with that red. Yeah, that's pretty good right there. That's covering most of the reds. So now you just click right back in the middle, or you can come up here and just type in 0 to reset it back to 0. Now the trick is you just go up here and you grab the hue, and you're going to pull it to the right, and it's going right there. It adds yellow to the reds and tones it more of a skin tone. Now you can tweak this a little bit to not every blemish is the same, or the picture is the same, so you'll have to play with these. But in this particular one, I'm going to pull up the brightness a little bit, and you can see it right there. That helped a lot. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to do Control I, and then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to put it on 50%, and I'm going to make it kind of big and make it soft. So hardness is at 0%. So now I'm just going to brush a white brush in on that adjustment layer right there. So right there, we're going to get rid of that, and put that back there, and then probably right there. Okay, so that definitely helped out. Yeah, as you can see, that's on and that's off, so we got rid of that redness that was right there. Perfect. Okay, the next thing is we're going to work on underneath the eyes right there. So I am going to make a blank layer right down here. It says create new layer, so I'm going to click that, and I'm going to come up here and I am going to set my flow at 3%. Just type in 3, hit enter. Now I'm not going to worry about my colors here because I'm going to be picking my colors. So I'm on my brush. You press B to get to your brush, and you're going to make that brush a little bit bigger than you're going to be using. So like right there, it's the hardness is at 0, so it feathers out. So you want it to feather out as much as possible without getting into the eyes. You do not want to get into the eyes with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down right here, and I'm going to grab a color that I'm wanting up here, because this is darkness. This is, making under eye stand out. So I'm pick that color. Hold Alt and left click, and I'm picking that color. Now I'm just going to go here and I'm just going to paint. You just do this a little bit at a time, and just working it down right there. There we go. And there's a little bit more right here. I'm going to sample this color so we can blend that in. There we go. Alright, so watch this. There, look at that. You don't want to try to take all of it out because then it looks fake. It doesn't look right. It has to have some kind of shadow or something there for dimension for it to look right. Now we'll come over here and do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to select a color right there by left clicking on my mouse, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do the same thing. Just gradually put this in here as I'm working down like that right there. I'm going to grab this color because you got a little bit of a hard line right there, so grab that color that's right there and just blend that right in. Okay, that looks good. Big difference right there. I'm going to brighten this side up just a little bit more. So click at maybe a couple passes right there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we got that done on the eyes. I'm going to hit that little shadow right there a little bit, so I'm going to select this color over here and fill that out there a little bit, and then select over here and blend that back in right there. There we go. Before, after. Before, after. Alright. So now, this up in here, we want to work on this here a little bit. So we're going to grab this color, same thing as the eyes, but we're just going to work on this right up here. Just going to hit those. And I say I'm not going to do this perfectly because this is just the video to show you how to do this procedure, but this gives you the idea of what to do. And that's another thing I like to do. I like to paint in here, and then I will make my brush larger so I can feather. So I'm going to select the color right here. There's a little bit of a color difference right there. This helps blend and even out skin tones for sure. So grab a color right there, and now I'm just going to, where that line is, and just kind of blend that down in here like that. There we go. There we go. So we still got a little bit of a line right there, so we'll go back up and select this, go back across that, make my brush a little bigger so I can feather it out. And there we go. A little shadow line right over here too. Kind of very lightly work into it. There. And I'm going to hit this little shadow right here. We'll do a little bit with this, and we'll finish this off right here with the curves if we need to. So that's all we're going to do. And then right down here, there's a spot there. I hit that. There we go. And then one right here, corner of the mouth. Okay. And a little bit of a blemish looking thing going on right here. So there we go. And you can go around and hit blemishes by doing this too. It just helps smooth out a little spot right there as well. Get that. Anyway, you get the point here of what we're doing. There we go. Now there's sometimes that you can actually end up doing too much of this because somebody might have a lot of blemishes. So what we can do with that, there's a little bit of a hard line right there. Just kind of go over that there a little bit, smooth that out, and select color right up there, go over that. Okay, that's looking really good. Alright, that's looking really good. So what we can do to fix, because it's like right here, you can tell if you zoom up that there was something done there, because you're basically taking the texture out. So we're going to add a little texture back into it. So we're going to take and select the background layer, the background copy right there, and I'm going to hit Control J to duplicate that layer, and then I'm going to take that layer to the top right there. So you can see the adjustments there. I'm going to leave that on, then I'm going to go right up here to my filters, and I'm going to hit noise, and I'm going to select add noise. Now that's really high. You want to turn this way down. Okay, yeah, 2.49, that works. And you want this on the distribution, you want it on uniform, and you want the chromatic selected. Okay, so now I'm going to press and hold Alt on my keyboard and click the layer mask to cover that up, and you can see what it did. So now I'll select my white brush, which I'm already on. I'm going to turn my flow up just a little bit here. Now I'm going to come over here and set this to screen. I'm going to set that to screen. Oops, wrong one. Get rid of that by pressing Control Z. What you want to do is you want to actually paint a spot. Okay, you want to paint a spot, and you're wanting that to let's see, lighten. That does pretty good. There we go. I like soft light. It shows the texture of the noise that we just added, and that's basically it. And I'm just going to paint that in right here on these spots. And now we have texture back, so it looks natural again. If you can see that, you can see there's no texture right there from the painting, and now we have texture again. And then we can just drag it down to where we want it, like right there. I got it on 70%, but it'll change. Yeah, pull down 40%. There we go. Yeah, it looks really good. Okay. Let's see. It looks nice. It looks really nice. So now what we can do, there's some tweaks that we can do here. First thing I want to do is I want to see about kind of just getting an overall brightness to this to help the subject pop. So I'm going to do a curves adjustment. I'm going to grab up here in the far top right corner and just going to pull that over just so slightly right there, and you can see the difference there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that layer mask is selected, and I'm going to hit X to toggle for a black brush, because I'm going to remove that brightness off that background. I want the subject to stand out. I'm going to come up here and turn my flow all the way up to 100%, and I'm just going to paint where I want the background darkened back up to where it was originally. So I don't want the background to be bright as well. I want the subject to stand out, which that right there, that adds dimension. And also I'm going to pull a little bit of it off of right down here. And what that does, that helps draw into your subject here. It just helps add dimension and makes a person's eyes go right to the subject of where it's supposed to be. Alright. Now there's one last thing that we can do here to kind of put a little pop to this portrait. We can go right up here and do a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Click that. You will do absolutely nothing here. You will not change a thing. We'll go up here on the top right corner, hit the arrows to resend that back, and then right here on this adjustment layer, the hue and saturation adjustment layer, you're going to click on the blending modes and you will select color burn. Just like dodge and burn, that's color burn. Now this right here, it is very, very heavy, but this right here, you do not adjust the opacity, you adjust the fill. So we're going to pull that all the way down to the left to 0, and then I'm going to bring it up slightly to like right around 7. Look at that. Look at that. See what that just did? That's what we had, and that's what that right there just made it stand out. So I'm going to put just a little more color into the pupils here. So we will grab the curves adjustment layer, and we won't do nothing. We'll just leave it the way it is. We'll close that down. We're going to change this blending mode to, you just kind of bounce around from color dodge to linear dodge and see which one looks better. And this one here, linear dodge, that's usually the one, but sometimes it could be different. So I'm going to invert that layer mask on that by doing Control I for Control Invert, and then I'm going to make my brush very small. Again, I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to harden the brush up to around 50% right there, and I'm going to paint that in with a white brush. So hit X to toggle it back to white, 100%, and let's just paint that in. Just paint a U with that. And I got over on the black layer a little bit. There we go. Eyes are very, very important, so you want to make sure you take your time, make it look good. Alright. Of course, that is way, way overdone. So let's take and pull the fill of that down. Clear to 0, and we're going to pull it up to where we want it. Like right there. There we go. That's on 18%. But that, I'm going to shut that off and on. Just brings the eyes back out. There you go. Normally I would sit here and I would do the rest of the body, any skin that's showing and everything, and well, I guess I can show you this too. I usually do a little bit of dodging and burning on the hair that kind of gives it dimension and everything. So here's basically what I do is I will come down here at the bottom over here under layers. We'll click that right there. I'll do a solid color. I'm going to select white, and this right here, you can double click right there on the name of it, and you can name that dodge. Hit enter, and now I'm going to left click but double click right over here off to the side on that layer, and it's going to bring up this menu blend if. Now since it's a dodge brightness, we want to off the darks. We want the darks to stay dark and we want to brighten the brights. So we want to take it off the darks. Right down here, the underlying layer, you'll click on that and you're going to pull it to the right. Right in there, you're going to start seeing it come off the hair. So I'm going to go right there. Now here's the trick. Press and hold Alt, and then right here, this little adjuster, it splits in half. Click on the right hand side, and then you can let off the Alt now, and then drag it onto the right. Okay, and then you can grab this over here and you can play with it. So yeah, about right in there. And you can also play with the opacity up here. So we're going to, I'm going to set it on about 50%, 49. I'm going to hit OK. Now that layer mask right there, I'm going to select that layer mask and I'm going to hit Control I to invert it. And now I will come over here with a white brush and I will go to like 50% on that brush. Make it kind of big and make it soft. And you're just going to kind of hit some highlight stuff. And it's only going to affect the highlights because you took it off the darks. Let's go through here and hit some of these. I'm not going to sit here and do all of it because I'm just showing you a technique. You get the point, but you want to doing it for your own portrait and everything. You want to take your time and get everything really good. Okay, so that right there adds dimension to the hair. And you can turn it down by dropping the opacity down. I'm just bring it up like 20% right there. Okay, and then you can do the same thing with the burning. Go down there, solid color adjustment layer, select black, hit OK, double click this over here, and now we're going to pull it off the white. So we're going to grab over here, I'm going to pull that down about right there, about 180. I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to click the left side of the slider, then let off of it, and I'm going to pull that, and that's just putting the darks in the dark. You can grab this here and pull it around. I'm going to drop the opacity of that like right in there. A little bit of this goes a long way, so 19%. Now I'm going to invert that, Control I on that layer mask, and then we'll do the same exact thing. We're just going to paint in the darks. And it helps add dimension by burning those darks a little darker. Okay. And you can do basically you can do the same thing down here. Just like, you know, if you really want to get into this, you can do the dodging and burning on the hands and all this stuff. But I'm not going to get into that. But you can use this technique to do that. As you can see, it just helps add dimension, especially like on the face. See, it helps add dimension. Helps, you know, define those edges. Okay, so I'm going to turn that on and off. You can see that. It sure does make it pop. Alright, we're going to leave it at that for there, because this video I just wanted to show you as far as like a face edit, which that's what we did. Some of the techniques that I used to do that. Other than that, I do believe that's it. Okay. Thank you very much.